On my last video, there was a lady named Nancy, or my bad, I was thinking about Nancy Schaefer because that's what we were discussing. So Miss Lee, she brought up Miss Schaefer, and I think this is a great topic to have for New Year's. Also, there's a guy who calls himself Shawn supporter. Um, he's a video gamer, and well, he's kind of a dick. But after looking at his actual channel, because he goes by another alias, he might be autistic too. I mean, he likes the video games, which isn't necessarily an autistic trait. He doesn't actually speak on his channel, as far as I've known, or as far as I've seen. It's just the video game characters. But I told him I'd post a video and I would hang out with him online for Jesus Christos Almighty. That was gross. No. Now, there's nobody on my channel yet to speak with. I'm not sure if Leanne will get on here. All right. Leanne was asking why I thought she was funny. One of the videos that she posted, all right, I'm contacting Lee. There's something called the Winelda Diaries, and I thought that the lady talking in the Winelda Diaries, I thought that was Miss Lee. And so I told her she was funny. She wasn't sure how to take that. It's a case of mistaken identity and assumptions. Assumption is the mother of all fuck ups. I like that saying. She's posting some stuff. Could you post the links in live chat so everyone has access? Because obviously I'm on my live stream here, so I'm going to be trying to communicate as best I can. All right, I'm looking over here. Shawn Porter said, hey, bro, might lay down for a micro nap. I have chronic insomnia. I was noticing you got a few videos there where you got so little sleep that you were hallucinating. So I get you. He also typed constant night sweats, insomnia, etc. Fireworks everywhere right now. Yes, sir. It's not going to be New Year's here for another hour and 51 minutes. Now, there's some stuff here. Lee brought up one of the topics that I've actually brought up many times. And as a result, I'm going to show you that I've brought it up. All right, copy link address. This one is from, it says from 1 year ago. It's about Nancy Schaefer. The title, matter of fact, paste, is Listening to Nancy Schaefer, former senator, about foster care and homelessness. Yeah, that would be my life as a kid and then my life as an adult, for the most part. Here's one called Nancy, Leah, Tina, Laura, and the many years I spent trying to help mothers of autistic kids. Copy link address. That would be Laura Nelson. If you guys listen to the conversation with Amanda, then you know that I used to coordinate with parents of autistic kids. That was my champion cause before the death of Natalie Bollinger. I mean, well and truly. I didn't want to tell people I was autistic. They always told me I was smart and I'm honest and so on and so forth. I'm the most real person they know and so on and so forth. But the moment they found out that I'm autistic, I became a retard in every one of their minds for the rest of eternity. So go fuck yourselves, you pieces of shit. I just want to make sure that I get the insults out of the way first. Good night. All right. So Nancy Schaefer was murdered. Now there's Miss Lee thinks that maybe she's in witness protection or something like that, but I don't think so. She was trying to expose the same people that Epstein would have exposed if he hadn't been murdered. I mean, hung himself. Now these senators and judges are censoring to the American public. If this Maxine lady says that 2 former presidents were fucking little kids, and she says who the little kids were that were getting fucked by these presidents, we don't get to know about that. And if these little kids that these presidents stuck their penises in end up dead, we're not going to know about that either. We might know that somebody ended up dead. It might be on the news. But even the news agencies don't have access to that shit. This is immoral and illegal. But then again, national security is at stake. Why is that? Because if we find out, and we will find out, if it is allowed to be public, and it should be, if we find out that Donald Trump has been fucking kids since 1986, and we probably will, it don't matter how many guards he's got, the American people will fucking lynch his ass. It'll be the first real serious lynching that we've had in over 200 years. Why is that? Because of how truly public it would be. Now, we've got lynchings all the time. We have black people in America being found hung in trees all over the place in this country, and we're not hearing about it on the news. But we've got people on YouTube and Facebook who are literally posting up pictures that they took of a black kid hanging from a public park, and we still don't hear about it, and those things get taken down. Censorship is immoral and it's illegal. It is against the First Amendment. Looks like Leanne or Miss Lee is messaging me, but she's Wow, she is typing a lot. Oh my God. I should probably read it, but I'm on YouTube right now. I'll read it when I'm done, or you can join the discussion on my YouTube. And of course, I'll probably post up some of the stuff that she's sending me. It's not like it's private information or anything. This one is called Nancy Schaefer Reflections on Georgia Politics. Copy video URL. Now we're getting into the realm of conspiracy theory here, which is not really my department. My department is more applied history. The reason it would be applied history is because many of these things that I speak about, they have been happening over and over and over. The abuse that I had to take at Clearview was not specific to just me. Many people go through that. Matter of fact, I spoke out about that treatment before it ever happened to me as an adult. But I also put up with it as a kid. Grown men shoving their cocks up my ass. Lovely. When you're a child, you have no rights, and they pretend like when you become an adult, you'll have rights. But you get ejected from the system. When you turn 18, you get dropped off like a bad fucking habit. And I've had a few people tell me they don't do that anymore, but then I run into homeless people who just turned 18. Maybe your state is better. Maybe these things that you keep telling me is the way that it is, maybe it actually is that way in your state. But something that many of you don't know is that state is another word for country. The United States is a collection of nations. And each state is its own independent nation. Lee J.G. Anderson typed salvation. I didn't realize you were live. I got busy with 20-22 countdown and answering a couple other things. Thank you. You're welcome, Miss Lee. We're talking about Miss Nancy Schaefer right now, and we're talking about CPS. So you got to pick the topic tonight. You're welcome. I know you've got some personal stuff that I'm not going to bring up, but if you would like, you are free to share it here. This channel isn't just for me. This is supposed to be a voice for all of the victims, and that includes you. That includes Natalie Bollinger. That includes Nancy Schaefer. Now, I sent you the links because you were asking about Miss Schaefer, and I recognized the name, and I was pretty sure it was that senator. And if you look right above where you just typed, there's 3 links there. The very bottom one is the link that you sent me about, let me see, Nancy Schaefer Reflections on Georgia Politics. The other 2 are videos that I made a while ago. One of them is called Listening to Nancy Schaefer, former senator, about foster care and homelessness. She's the one at the top. The one in the middle is Nancy, Leah, Tina, Laura, and the many years I spent trying to help mothers of autistic kids. See, all these parents of autistic kids, their complaints are all the same. All of them. All of them. All of these parents, from Amanda to Laura, I mean, they have to have the same fears that black families have. Something that a lot of white people don't have to face. But if you got an autistic kid, yeah, you have to worry about the police murdering your child. If your kid has Tourette syndrome, you also have to worry about them killing your child. Now, obviously, right now, if you're typing, I'm not seeing it because I took it to another tab. But we'll bring it back to this one, to the live stream. Miss Anderson, do you have anything to add or anything that might be useful? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to advertise that. It's not alcoholic or anything like that. It's just, we're not here to advertise. We're not here to make money. We're not here to profit off of these things. We're here to expose the truth and save lives. See, the American public, they love a good witch hunt. I mean, look at the whole Brian and Gabby situation. Dog the bounty hunter. Dog the bounty hunter. Dog the bounty hunter is a piece of shit with absolutely no morality. But this channel isn't about him. It's about the witch hunting. We still don't know who killed Gabby Petito. You want to assume that because Brian murdered himself, possibly, there's also a possibility somebody else took him out into the woods and fucking killed him. All sorts of possibilities. Now, given what we know about both of those areas, and given what we know about the Native Americans, especially in Wyoming, there is for certainly a serial killer. With the sheer quantity of bodies found in the area that Gabby was found in, there is a very good possibility that that serial killer murdered Gabby. There is a possibility that this man dropped off Gabby after a violent argument and altercation and said, "Get the fuck out of my van. I'm fucking done with you." And of course, you got a pretty little white girl out there all by herself. Now, maybe he killed her, maybe he didn't. But Americans didn't care. They just enjoyed the fuck out of the witch hunt. They enjoyed it. They got off on it. They enjoyed it so much that many people spent days online trying to play armchair detective. People tried to push me to kill myself well before Natalie was ever dead. People who were my supposed friends repeatedly were telling me to kill myself. And you know what? When people do that, I am at the point where I do say those things back. Usually I don't say that they should go blow their head off like they say to me. Upon occasion, I may. Most of the time, I just tell them they should stick their head in the toilet and flush because they're turds. Let's see, we got another one of these folks that needs hidden on my channel. Spammers. If you notice, I let you know if it's a spammer or if it's a troll. Big difference. Once you start to learn these terms, it starts to make sense. A lot of the stuff that they have in sorry, ADOS. So I suppose since I lost my topic due to ADOS, I should probably pick up another one. Oh yeah, the witch hunt. People completely forgot about it after Brian killed himself. They just assumed that that means he's guilty. He must have been guilty because he killed himself. You know, I didn't kill Natalie, but I committed suicide. I was brought back. And I didn't ask to be brought back. And I am still pissed off that they brought me back. If I die, leave me dead. If I have to tell them that it is my religious preference and get it tattooed on my fucking forehead, I will. Is anybody here? I saw a show after I was literally just talking to the doctors about the whole do not resuscitate thing. I was on YouTube and there was a small part from one of those, I don't even know what the show is called, but the guy, Frank, I think is what his name is, he's got it tattooed on his chest, do not resuscitate. And the nurse lady or doctor or whatever says, is this legally binding? Lee J.G. Anderson type. That's okay. What would you recommend if a lawyer said he wanted to talk to me to start a case? Should I trust him? He's on the internet called Vince Davis. If he's a lawyer and he wants to help you out with your case, the least you could do is talk to him. Make sure you record the call. Anytime that you have to talk to anybody about anything having to do with the courts, 100% of the time you do have to record it because these people who work in the courts are friends. Your public pretender, if you have one, is not likely to stand up to the judge. He's got other court cases. And a judge, if he holds a grudge against your public pretender, you might be found guilty of a crime you didn't commit because 4 cases ago, your public pretender pissed off the judge. So now he's got to let you, or she, sorry, has to let you take the fall for something that you didn't do so that that public pretender can get back in the good graces of the judge. Has nothing to do with legality. It has everything to do with fucking ego. Have you ever met a judge that doesn't have an ego? Any of you. I want to hear if there is a judge that you have encountered that does not have an ego. I want you to put their name down here so I can sing their praises. All right, this is where my OCD comes in. That's obsessive compulsive disorder. Before I can smoke a tobacco, I have to take the wrapper off. And the plastic thing I wrap up all neat, nice, and handy. And then I take the inside wrapper and I wrap it around it and fold it up all nice, neat, and handy. And then I take the bigger one that was on the front and I fold the rest of it up all nice, neat, and handy. But lo and behold, I have no clue where I stuck the other part of this. And I'm sorry that that's off topic as well. Very good. Miss Lee is typing some more, so we'll read hers. Miss Lee, I sent you my number in chat. So if you want to call and actually join the conversation that way, that would be absolutely great. It prevents me from having to stop what I'm doing to read what you typed, and especially if there's something that I was talking about a few minutes back, and then I read it, and you're replying to something that I said a few minutes ago. I might not know exactly what you're talking about. I'll have to go back and try to figure it out. And like I said, that's not something I can do on a live feed. Lee typed, now the public defender didn't help me. He made everything obviously losing my kids, plus their dad. 4 of the kids stayed with us who went with them because supposedly the father had a heart attack and couldn't handle the kids. It was stupid. Now he works for an airline traffic in airplane, and they violated our civil rights. We know what they did purposely. They know what they did. All right, that might not have been typed well, or I might have just given it a bad read. And I'm sorry in either case. Sometimes, especially if it's talk to text, things come out right. I tried talk to text. People ditched me because the words didn't come out perfectly. People tend to do that. If you are not perfect, they don't give a shit about you. Juries like to have their victim be perfect. If you're a prostitute and you sell your vagina for money, and that's brought up in court, and you were raped, they think that it's okay that you were raped because you're a prostitute. How fucked up is that? Rape is wrong no matter who it's done to. That's one of the biggest issues that I have with many of these women's groups. Men get raped too. Statistically, 29 million men in America were raped or molested before the age of 18. See, so maybe you guys, if you're reading it, you've got a better understanding of what she's saying than I do. It says I've got 0 viewers, so I guess Miss Lee is no longer on, which is also fine. Or it might just not be registering that she's on. Now, a lot of people bring up subjects that I've spoken out about for years, and I get treated like I'm fucking schizophrenic nut job for saying it. Case in point, the missing women of Hardin, Montana. I spoke about the missing women of Hardin, Montana 10 months before Selena Not Afraid disappeared. But because of what happened to Natalie, many of the people who saw that when Selena Not Afraid disappeared wanted to be accusational, make up false stories, and be assholes to me. Lee J.G. Anderson typed, you did my reading pretty well. You said you gave a number. I'll call into the show. Like I said, I don't have anyone else to have these stories besides their father, and he's tired because it's confusing. Right? They make it complicated as possible, so the victims have no chance to get out of the trap. It is always a trap. The United States government does not give a fuck about you. They never have and they never will. They care about power. It is not until revolt that we have effective change. Case in point on that, the Civil War. What did it take to free all of those black slaves? It took the lives of 600,000 white Northerners. These people weren't black. They had never owned a slave in their life. They knew that it was wrong to own another human being, and they rose up and did something about it. That's the difference between people alive then and those alive today. Today, you're all a bunch of bitches. You're a bunch of straight up lay down and just fucking take it bitches. "200 years ago, Donald Trump would have been dead before he even get into office. What we who are disabled need is exactly that. It has gotten to the point where the government has said loud and proud, we don't give a fuck about you, go away. We don't care if 90% of the population voted for something, you can't have it. Well, that doesn't sound very democratic, does it? We've had it on our ballots here repeatedly to have marijuana legalized in the state of Colorado or in the state of Nebraska. Something that many of you don't know is that I petitioned door to door to get Amendment 64 passed in Colorado. Colorado allowed the bill. Colorado did. Nebraska, they have the support, they have the numbers. Most of the people in this state are potheads. If you're not a pothead, you're probably an alcoholic. Oh, fuck, what an ass I've been. I need to read this from Lee. Let's see. He doesn't see the things I see. I have to fit like 10 major puzzle and things that makes me believe that lady still could be alive, or at least did it die at the hands of the government? Well, like I said that at the beginning of the video, obviously, that goes into the realm of conspiracy theories, and that is not my department. Now, another thing that I had explained is that my department is applied history. Um, she may have been killed, she may have not, but at the time we are very heavily influenced and focused on the rich and the powerful. Another case in point, Britney Spears, arguably one of the most famous people in the world. And look what it took for her to get some sort of semblance of freedom. Let's see. Now, there's a lot of puzzle pieces that need to be put together. Alone, they mean nothing. Alone, a lot of the things that the cops said to me don't mean jack shit. But if you put them together with two or three of the other conversations that I had with that specific officer, you realize that he changed his mind depending on whatever I was doing. When he told me to do it one way, and then I tried it that way, then he tells me I got to do it another way. And then he tells me I got to do it another way. Another one. If you look at the crimes that were committed against me, this is the separation thing, the lack of equality thing. When I tried to turn in my predators for what they did to me, I was told it wasn't illegal or it was okay because they couldn't do anything because of jurisdiction and things of that nature. Well, jurisdiction didn't matter in my situation. And these things that were not illegal for the Bollinger family were illegal for me. Let's see. She typed, "Trust me, I just gotten an argument tonight because I wouldn't put my words right, and texting is even worse for me, but you've been pretty good." See, this lady is literally speaking about problems that I have. She has literally the same issues I have with the typing and my words didn't come out right, so you're going to be an asshole to me for fucking 3 months and shit like that. You get into an argument because your words didn't come out perfect. And then the more stressed out they are, that's the thing about people who love you. The people who love you, they know how to hurt you because you told them. You told them that something hurts you because you don't want them to do it to you. But now they know that it hurts you. What you've done is you've shown them the knife and said, hey, this is the knife that hurts me. You have shown this person how they can hurt you. And they will. If you don't get that one word right and you try to correct yourself, you don't get to correct yourself. They're too busy being assholes. Too busy driving that knife into your back and twisting as hard as they can. Now you're frustrated and you're pissed off and you need help. You need someone to listen to you, but you're in an argument with somebody who's not trying to listen. They're trying to provoke you. And then after provoking you for hours and standing in front of the door so you can't leave, my dad did that to me, by the way. He provoked me for almost an hour straight and stood in front of the door so I couldn't leave, called me a pussy. And by the way, I've got recordings on this channel where he admits that. Now, that's a felony. That is false imprisonment. At that point, even if you take the verbal abuse out of it, my father, I was 39 years of age, and this man is illegally imprisoning me and not allowing me to leave because he wanted to stand in the doorway and bully me and chastise me and treat me like I was lower than fucking shit on his boot. So I get it. Lee typed, even Mary Poppins wasn't perfect. You're absolutely right. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Helps the medicine go down. Medicine go down. I love that movie. Although I like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang a lot better. And you're my teddy bear. All right. Um, Lee typed, I am far from perfect, but I always was a mother that stuck around, always had the kids around me, and despite some flaws, I had it never brought in the cops. But after years of being a mother, I just kind of gotten to a funk. What's your number? I'll go live on here. All right, I'm going to type you my number again. We'll do this again. It's on the one with a T in it, because you sent me 2 friend requests, one from each of your accounts. Um, Sorry, I'm terrible with numbers. I put my phone number on the back of my phone so I can remember it. And then I put black tape over it so that if I'm holding my phone and looking at something and referencing and all that, that bad things don't happen. Communication issues and such, or any number of other possibilities. One of the things with someone who's autistic is it's important to be prepared. It's important. Preparation is important. One of the ladies that Miss Lee, uh, I told her I thought she was funny because there's a lady that she posted about named uh, the Winelda Diaries, July 15th, 2020. Oh my God, this woman is hilarious. But I assumed that it was Miss Lee. That was my mistake. Um, let's see. And she posted a few YouTube clips. This one is called Murder of State Senator Nancy Schaefer, clip 2. Um, Miss Lee is apparently offline. You know how it has the green dot when they're online? Well, she doesn't have a green dot next to her name. I'm not sure what happened. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9 tabs open right now. So forgive me while I bounce back and forth. Um, let's see. Um, let's see. I'm on mine, used to say 0, and I have 3 people on talking to me. So you're right. The PC might not be working right. What's the real legal term I could just stop saying, stop making me look a little smarter with my words, despite all the stuff I've learned? I go to say something and I'm like, stupid. You notice I get stumped on words a lot? I got an IQ of 172, and I fuck up a lot. Like I said, I got a stuttering problem. I've got more than one processes in my head at all points in time. There is never been a moment in my life that I didn't have at least 6 different processes running in my head. Most of you have difficulties remaining on one line of thinking. The problem is that my lines of thinking kind of get crisscrossed sometimes. Many times that's a good thing. I'm able to put things together that you might not think are related at all. And that's because I'm thinking of 2 things at the same time, and sometimes the light bulb just clicks. Lee typed, well, I get spooked because I see like evidence. She could be. That's why I sent these things to you to look at on your Facebook page. I'll try to get them on here. Maybe others could look into it again with it. You can. All right, what you want to do is you take your mouse. You notice on this screen here, let's say that this is the video, right? Sorry, I'll have to pretend here. What you do is you take your mouse and you put your cursor right about here, and you right click and it'll give you some options. One of those options is copy video URL. What you want to do is you want to left click on copy video URL, and then you go down to the bottom here, you right click, and it'll give you the option to paste. Click paste, and it'll put it right up here. Let's see. Let's see, because I see like evidence. Let's see. I'll try to get them on here. Maybe others could look into it again with it. All right. She wrote she could be. That's why I sent these things to you to look at on your Facebook page. I'll try to get them on here. Maybe others could look into it again with it. This AK friend of Nancy Schaefer, aka Talking to William Wagner, is very suspicious. You have to see this for yourself, then you'll see what I'm talking about, especially if you recognize Nancy's voice. I don't recognize her voice. If I listen to the video again, I probably would for a few minutes. It's not like the familiarity of somebody that you've listened to for a long time. Like, you will never forget your kids' voices. If your kids call you and you haven't heard your children in 20 years and they call you up, you know exactly who they are. You don't believe it, so you have to ask them, could it possibly be? Is there any way? It is, yeah. You're right, it is them. Now, this one is a message that's held for review. I'm going to show it. It says, you want to have a sad story. Last Thursday, I went because my uncle died. Supposedly, I was in the well. In the well, he left a page and a half to come out of the well because I said he was a pedophile. Yes, ma'am. I understand that. LG Anderson typed, or Lee typed, all my other siblings, all four of them got 125,000. I got 0 for speaking out. Look what happened. That broke my heart. Can I go? I got fighting about being a mom and my son calling me a lousy one. Thank you, because everyone else makes me sound like a nutcase. I'm a pretty decent person, but I can't help it. I can't change my personality just because one person tells me. And I'm going to tell you, I'm assuming you are Miss Lee?
I am. Thank you for having me on. Thank you. I appreciate it. Forgive me if I sound like I have an accent. I'm from Maine, the state of Maine. And so sometimes people think I have a little bit of an accent.
I'll forgive you for being from Maine. You're basically Canadian, but I'll forgive you this once.
Oh, that's okay. Call me what you may. No, again, I really appreciate what you're saying. I saw that video of Nancy Schaefer, and I'm like you had approached with the subject. It's like, finally, I think somebody's getting it. I don't know how much you read into Nancy Schaefer, such as I have, because at first I never heard of the lady, but I could tell you one day, I swear, maybe this guy, my lawyer at the time, when I can give you the previous story if I settle myself down a little bit. It's been a rough night.
Yes,
But the background is now I talk about it because it's really weird, because now I'm looking back at how the case really started. I feel like if I say this, I'm not going to sound like I'm normal, because I feel like this was a setup from the get-go. And when you mention the schools, that spooks me out even more, because I feel like they were already predicted to find a way to hurt me before they actually took my kids away. Like they were already circling around long before they put the knock on the door. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, but also it's not a personal towards you. They do this to everyone.
They were watching me, but I really think they were, because I got weird signs after I started to think. Like this gave me a weird spook. My neighbor would come up to my house about 6, 7 months before these guys came into my lives, and she would always tell me like the floor was leaking, and this like she thought my kids, because I have 6 of them, and I'll be real quick. The 2 of them still got into the state and got adopted out.
All right, I'm
And
gonna stop
now
you. I'm gonna stop you right now. I
Sure,
noticed that
sure.
you're talking real fast because you don't.
Sure.
You're probably used to getting talked over, and you're trying to get as much information in as possible.
Exactly. Thank you for
It comes across as kind of nutty when I
Yes,
do
it
it for
does.
certain. It also comes across as if your thoughts are not organized. Now, I understand
They
that you
are.
just have a lot going on, and as a result, it's a big jumbled mess. But
It is.
you aren't going to be in a rush. I mean, if you noticed, my last video was over 2.5 hours long. The one before
Yes.
it was over 2 hours long. If you want to talk until next year, you're free to do so.
But yeah, I mean, because these people know how to use the, I call them $50 words. I'm just beginning to learn to talk with $5 words, or dollar words, or 50-cent words. But and they know how to put the directions of what was going on with me. But the thing is, everything they said was not really the case. Like, they would just stamp me. That's what I just feel like. They wouldn't, and of course, they're going to do it because they want it to be rushed and stuff. And the state basically did a real hash, or whatever you want to call it, job of my case. And if I had learned to probably talk like a lawyer, first of all, I don't think this would have gotten as far as it did, where they just ripped through my family, saw that there was 2 girls that were worth taking. The other kids all were cute, but we're not.
Blonde hair, blue eyes, under the age of 6.
Actually, one, they both were Hispanic, but one did have aniridia, where she has black eyes because she has she has just like pupils. She has like really no eye
cornea.
color. And but they were very good kids. They were very subdued. They weren't ones with swearing. They weren't ones with real horrific illnesses. They weren't one to they weren't flunking out of school and stuff. They weren't ones that again, when I lost my daughter, she was only 3 and a half. One of them, that was my daughter Patience. The other one was my daughter Giselle. What happened was, when I kind of got in a funk, I reached out to Catholic Charities and asked them if they couldn't bring somebody to help me. Finally, they brought this girl, but she, as I was told by somebody who told me to get rid of her, she was a dud. She wasn't doing nothing. She was sitting in my chair, falling asleep. Even my other neighbor saw her doing this and was like, "This is supposed to be the worker helping you for Catholic Charities," which is weird, because Nancy Scharfer once mentioned Catholic Charities in one of her speeches, but I don't know if she was going on the negative side of the program, or organization, or if she was talking positive about them. So I don't dare to quote her either direction. But it spooked me, because I do remember she said something about them, and then I heard more negative things, like they're the ones looking out for cases such as mine to get more into my business for what happens, such as they come in, they plow through your family, cherry pick, as I call it, cherry pick through. Well, I think other people have called it too, like you quoted about the blonde and blue eyes, which is kind of true. Only I had dark hair and dark eyes, but they had that
Boulder,
cherry
Colorado
look to them.
is full of a lot of racists, a lot of very rich racists, and the most prized children are blonde-haired, blue-eyed, especially in Colorado.
And
they can catch up to 1.5 million a kid.
You know what's creepy? And a lot of people won't make this connection, but now that you said that, now when I was born, this is when that program started about wanting to foster out kids, because they were finding less kids. Now, orphanage was starting to get more disassembled. They weren't. That isn't to say there ain't more of them around, but the United States seemed to have gotten rid of them. Like, back in the 70s and 80s, when Mondale, was it not Mondale? Was it Mondale? No, well, there was Clinton too that had revise something in 1997 about welfare and reform and stuff like that.
When they
But they were
disassembled all of the battered women's shelters, right?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
before that happened, now this is a spook. One day, my mother was crying to my father, and I'm 52, and that mind you. So this is my mother. I'm about 5 or 6 years old, and all of a sudden, I heard my mother saying, and because I have to admit, I was a pretty cute kid. I had blonde hair, blue eyes, chubby, Cherokee face, but not overweight, not, bad, any skin rashes, none of that stuff. I was one of those kids that knew how to play by themselves, wasn't whiny or fussy. And despite that, I still got hurt as a child, but at the same time, I knew how to keep my emotions. I wasn't acting out, that sort of thing. I was pretty well behaved. My mother said one day, crying to my father why she had to go back to work, because she says, I don't want Julie to go away. And I thought, that put a scare in me, and it's probably started my panic attacks since I was a child. I started to have them in my later teen years, but I always think that scared me. But my mother reassured me that day I wasn't going to go nowhere. I think my mother caught on because she was starting to collect welfare, but she stopped and instead went and worked at a bank for almost 20 years until she retired. And then I wish she was around now so I could reflect back on that day as if she knew, like, the government was kind of after blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids, such as you said, under the age of 5 or 6, and these programs were starting to pop up. What Nancy was warning people about, watch out for your children, especially if you're low income, which I put on every friggin' piece of paper I can on YouTube that has any connections. Unfortunately,
Poverty
so
is
many.
the connection in all of these cases, isn't it?
Yeah, and looking back, I think my mother was probably worried she would get. And then all of a sudden, my mother's, I don't want none of their help no more. Frig them off, frig their food stamps. And mind you, she had 5 kids herself, but instead she went back to work. And I think because her parents had a lot of things to do with politics. She was the only child. Her parents owned good property here in Maine. It was called Freeport, and it's kind of like a town everyone goes to. It's kind of hip, and they sold their property eventually to the city. But nevertheless, my Nana was so involved in that, she probably could have heard something talking about children, talking about politics, and probably warned my mother, look, you collect welfare, you might end up losing her because they're looking for these prize-winning children, as you AKA say cherry pickup, blonde, blue eyes. And now I look back, I could almost put that into a story to say I started off recognizing my mother went to work to save her ass from losing me because she might have been afraid of something that I already now experienced for myself, which is now having my children taken away from me
The moment you take their money,
still,
they own you.
unlegally. Well, in an legal way. I mean, of course they did. They twisted so much, and I'm trying to straighten this out with my child and it's so hard because he's saying, "You weren't there the day they picked us up. You just stood there looking at me." And he said that to me tonight, and I'm like, just calling me a witch. And I thought, you didn't realize these people were powerful. If I went after them, they would have put it down in the records like I was, vital or some shit like that. I
And they
couldn't
do.
win.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
doing. Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't do it the legal way. Now everything is said and done. As far as they did what they did, I know what they did. I see some really creepy things about. Like, makes me kind of think Nancy didn't die the way she did. And now I come to you to see what sort of advice you do if you had, like, in my shoes.
Well, the more I know about your situation, the better advice I can give. But there's also a lot of stuff that I don't know well enough about the legal system to give advice on.
No,
I know that
Thank you.
the situation with, I almost said Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Schaefer.
Oh, I do that too. My kids still think she's, yeah, I got them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nancy
If you say the wrong
like
name,
Nancy
people get
Pelosi.
pissed. I've had to deal with what's one of the most common names of the people who offered to help. God, I can't even remember right now. But there's a lot of people that when I'm talking about them, I get the first name right, but I get the last name wrong, and then they're getting a hold of me saying, "You son of a bitch, you're a piece of shit. You fucking lied about me." And I'm like, not intentionally. And I always get on and correct it, but they're already hateful and blocked me at that point. But at least I know that I corrected it.
pretty volatile people out there, and that's what people say I am. And I thought, you know what? I may not be the sharpest crayon in the box, but I'm still pretty there, and I'm still willing to work out stuff. But again, I did have my lawyer, the court appointed, like you said, didn't do much, but he stared at me one day, and he kept on looking at me like he wanted to say something to me, just going like that. And I was like, okay, spit it out, kind of one of those situations. And I swear, if that guy probably, because he looked at me and almost it was like, you just don't look like you are the type to get into that. Now, he did say something like that. And I said, well, thank you for saying that. This is after I just had a problem with my teeth. And that was another thing. How do you go to court? And it has nothing to do with drugs. They love to throw that out. And I'm the one that paid for my own testing and stuff, because that's always the major hit.
You must have lost your teeth because you're on meth kind of thing.
What was that?
I said, you must have lost your teeth because you're a meth head kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know that wasn't it. It's because my money now went on to children, and I didn't have crappy teeth to begin with. I had pretty good teeth. I had a space like Madonna and Lauren McCall has and stuff. But other than that, this is a girl who's a fan at the age of 13 of Maggie Smith. Most people never even knew. This is how weird the world is. And this, I think, something good could come my way, positive, if, like you just said, if I could slow myself down, get my words more corrected, and chill out. But I also have not found too many people that I dare to talk to without sounding like a Looney Tune, because I know I'm not. And that's the same with you. I listen to you and I think you're frustrated like me. That frustration comes from the passion. You want to see people like you and I not have to be hurt by any more of these so-called people that are in power and think they know stuff. And you look at them and they're like, you're dumb as shit.
I want to go to Boulder, Colorado and give my older brother a hug and tell him I love him and I miss him. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted for a whole year before Natalie died, was to go see my older brother and see my friends in Boulder without being assaulted, without being threatened.
And now,
I'm sorry.
Really, no, hon, you go for it. Because look at that's the same with me, honey. Everybody last week, I just had several hits. Last week, get this, that my uncle, okay, I know my uncle abused my brothers. One of them admitted, the other one didn't. He tried with one, but we never knew with the other brother because he would never talk about it and nobody approached him. But me, because it something happened to me, but it wasn't my uncle, but it was somebody else in the family. And because of that, I went to my uncle, my father. My father was a doll. He didn't hurt me. He was a worker like any other dad, and he didn't know every right things to say, but he wasn't a jerk. He was a character, but he was funny and stuff. And my mom was a good mom. She was overweight, but always felt down about herself, but she was still a good mom. I only wish I could have the same ways like my mom. I miss it terribly. Trust me, I've been in tears. Last week, right before Christmas, my youngest son, because I have 3 older ones and 3 youngest, all from the same daddy. We've been together 28 years. I hope we last for 29, but nevertheless, because after tonight, I don't think so. But because we've been struggling with this. Last week, my eldest son got put in the will, and he got a note. So he goes, Mom, let's go see what's going on with the will. I said, I don't want to see the will. I just found out my uncle died because he said this will. Next thing you know, we go get the will. I come home. I thought for a second I got $30,000. I come home. It's split with my kids, that $30,000. Each of them get 5, right? All my other siblings get $125,000. Guess what Julie got? Nothing. That's what Lee gets. Nothing. That's how I'm like, even my brother, none of them. He wrote a page specifically saying, do not give that money until the kids turn 21 for my 6 kids. 3 of them are over 21 almost, and the other 3 are not. But I'm thinking, isn't that a kick? And that's because he came after me because I told him, do you want to tell me something before, it gets messy in my family? I went to him for an apology, and he chased me up the stairs, and he almost fell because they're real slippery because he was shutting down a house that my grandmother owned because she had just died. And he didn't even like that. It was his stepmother. It was my grandfather, his father's wife. Well, anyways, He didn't like me saying that. I just told him, if I'm wrong, I apologize. But instead of him going, I'm really wrong, he called me a bitch and started to chase after me. And he said, you're out of my fucking will. And I was like, okay, whatever. My guy had to drag me out. I was crying, well, you don't know what I've been through. He could have just apologized. Maybe it would heal me better. Maybe other people would admit what they did to me, because I've never gotten a sorry. Yes, from my mother, when I finally had to break her heart and tell her that happened to me when I was over the age of 18. And I did it right after Christmas of 88. So this is like an anniversary. Next thing you know, my son, I didn't want to see that will, because I knew I was cut out, despite I was told to go get it. And we go to look, and I had a fit last Friday night, because I knew Thursday night, because I was cut out of the will. And I sat there and cried. I couldn't believe all my other siblings got money, and he cut me out. And I'm thinking, what did I do so wrong to be cut out of that money? Because I stuck up for myself.
You told on a predator. You got punished for it.
Yep, $125,000. I'm thinking, just because I wanted to tell my kids and warn my sister, you watch out, because she was having a daughter, and it was the first girl since I was born. I didn't want her to see near her. And I watched her daughter like she was mine for the first few years of her life, especially the first child she had was a boy. And I was only 16 when he was born. That's my sister's son. But when she had a girl, I started having anxiety, thinking, I wasn't thinking of money. I wasn't thinking of loss. I didn't know what the fuck that was. Oh, it was so innocent back then. Now everything has to wrap around with money in my head. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I did it so innocently. That part of me is still there. I'm not saying because of my suffering I don't deserve some money, but I'll be damned. That was so honest of me to tell people, I don't want your children to be hurt like I was. Because look what it does. Till this day, I still have effects by it, because my kids call me weak and call me stupid because I lost out on that money. Oh, if you shut your fucking mouth. I was just trying to be honest. You know, it was like...
That's what you get for being a good person.
It's not worth it. How did I get teared down as a good person?
It is worth it. It absolutely is worth it.
That's why my dad went out with me in the first place, because he said, you were so quiet and tamed and didn't say much. I mean, when you get mad, you get mad. But he said, but it's not like you start arguments. And I don't. But this guy cut me right. I have the will right in front of me, and he left a page and a half specifically making sure this guy had a 12-page will. Can you imagine being almost a page and a half of that 12-page will? The rest of the
and
will.
You're not even getting anything.
And I'm not getting nothing. My kids each get $5,000 when they turn 21. They each get $5,000. My siblings get $125. They out of 4 siblings, as I was trying to say to you, they get $4,000.
I've lost everything repeatedly since Natalie died, and a few times before for protecting children.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, everything I had before 45 years old, I lost, because I couldn't afford my storage. Everything, all my kids' pictures, their little crafts, all the junk I collected, my Barbie doll collection, my Matchbox collection, all the things I love and trust. And, you know, don't worry. I mean, I find stuff. I'm a Goodwill hunter. I get bargains. So it's not, that's just stuff. I miss the pictures, but, you know, and, you know, ironically, you know, it hurts. And it's funny, I always gave pictures away, thinking if I ever had a fire, at least some of my relatives would have some of my kids' pictures, and they could always have them recopied. But they've never done that for me, you know. They've never. Now, my sister, and then I became homeless. After, when I lost my kids, I became homeless, because they made sure I couldn't keep my apartment. They made sure that they try to tear me down.
You jump through so many hoops that are expensive that you literally don't have the money to survive on.
No,
I get it.
No, and then they were trying to catch me to sell my medication, because I'm not a drug head. You have to believe me. I'm not. My guy would tell you, he would have never dated me. I couldn't lie to him. I'm not a drug head. I'm not an alcoholic. I did take medicine to help me to slow down my GI, and I got them legally, just 2 hydrocodone pills a day. And that's all I got to help my stomach, because it slows down the GI tract. It makes me not have this fastiness. So next thing I know, so I could enjoy going on trips without worrying about, you know, diverticulitis or colitis or any of that stuff that's so tragically hard to deal with. And I bless those who have it, because I know my friend has it, and she hates wearing that bag, and she's miserable, and I try to comfort her. So I know it must be 10 times harder than I could even imagine already what I'm going through. But they made it sound like I was a drug head because I no longer could get that. So I ended up getting Suboxone because that was the only thing anybody would give me in the circumstances I was in, and that would be covered. But as soon as I lost my kids, they broke me away from the program. But told me, all the things they supposedly, because this is what the lawyer did. He sold me after September 13th, when the case started in September of 2013. He said to me, "Oh, join this group. It's so great. They have staff, the facility's great, blah, blah, blah." And it was a dodgy, it had some rooms for, but it wasn't like, he made it sound like the new Disney of rehabs, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, what bullshit out of selling me? But I believed him because I was thinking, he's making it sound good. It looks like it could do what I need to do. Someone to talk to, a few classes to go to. I'm a chatterbox. I'll go. But it was nothing. And all they kept on saying is, "Julie, if you don't quit that Suboxone," I'm thinking, I could quit it. And everyone knows I did because I had since in the last 3 months quit it because all I needed it was for my stomach. But the thing is, if I don't have it, I kind of go back to having more days that aren't as good as if I'm on it. That's the only thing. I lose out on some days where I don't trust traveling and going out on stuff. And, I used to work at a bank. I handled money. I handled transactions with my, and now my family's basically calling me stupid, a lowlife. Now my kids are turning on me. Tonight showed everything they've been thinking on me. Calling me stupid, and and I'm thinking, well, that's a real kick in the head to start for the new year. And like you said, I didn't want to do nothing. My sister's now, she ain't talking to me. The one sister that was talking to me, she got mad because she said I was going to offer to get your teeth done because unfortunately I had all my teeth pulled out because they said I was going to get new ones. They had it all planned out, but
Me
then they
too.
weren't covered. So I whipped out all my teeth because they told me I'd get them done. And then I had them all ripped out just for them to say, "No, we can't cover that." So I looked more uglier.
I had 0 teeth. I had 22 teeth yanked all at the same time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. I almost had 22, but a couple of them broke before. I had 19. Oh my God. And I only had that numbing. I didn't get put under. I was always afraid the first few times I had wisdom put under. Then one time I didn't, and I did okay. It was a spur of the moment, so I didn't have time not to eat, so they couldn't put me under. But
they pulled 6 of mine live.
Were you put under, or were you like me?
No, I was still conscious. They were able to pull out most of them without too much issue. 2 of them had to be cut in half. My roots had grown around my jaw, so some of them broke oddly or harshly. But 6 of them were live. They couldn't get the injections to penetrate, so I felt it, every bit of it. And they're like, it's just pressure, it's not pain. I'm like, it is pain.
Do you have dentures now?
I don't.
None?
I was supposed to go in January of 2018. I was supposed to go in for that. The problem is that January
18, January of 17. That's weird.
January of 18.
If I had them all done in December of 16, we're supposed to go in by 17 to have them done.
Yeah, in January of 2018 is when it was going on, and I was supposed to go see them and get something done, but the problem is that I had just literally been made homeless because of Natalie Bollinger's death. And in addition to that, I was being harmed repeatedly nearly everywhere that I went. And with everything that was going on, all of the abuse and the fact that I literally had to flee the state of Colorado for my own safety, not just from the public, but also from the police.
There's just safety in the place. Now, where are you now? Do you feel safe? I mean,
I live in Chapel, Nebraska. My predators, the sheriff's department here, they were aware of the situation with Natalie Bollinger beginning in January of 2017, like almost a whole year before Natalie died, because they had taken me to the hospital in Sydney about being suicidal. Now, I wasn't trying to kill myself. I was begging people to kill me. And I still do that to this day. I don't want to exist anymore. I don't want to live. I don't want to be tortured for the rest of my life because I did the right thing. I don't want to be hurting every moment of the rest of my life.
I think of it this way, Shawn. You help someone like me feel better and feel like the way you were feeling, I could get back into feeling that tragic about myself. And I don't know. You help me, because really tonight was being real lousy. I'm thinking this is supposed to be a good start of the year. I actually thought my kids were on board with what I was thinking. Then my guy promised me a nice night, and then all of a sudden, because something happened last night, he didn't even sit and promise to help me with some favors. Even it's not even favors for me; it's favors for his family, like just getting out. And next thing I know, he just shuts down on me. And it's like, well, you leave me with these, things nice, and then you take them away. You didn't realize? It's not like you got me anything for Christmas. It's not like you saw me getting any money from my uncle. You saw my heart being broken last week, and I was literally, my face feels burning because I've been in tears, and I haven't been crying that much this past couple of years. But boy, all of a sudden I made up for it the last few days. I mean, I just shit myself out of money. I didn't hear from my girls, despite I've been trying to reach out to them. They lived in a place called Blue Hill, Maine. And, I have dependencies on wanting him to understand what I am. And next thing you know, I see what you're saying. You want someone to be there to listen to you. And I have a large family, but
when they're not supportive, it hurts.
And it hurts a lot, because I thought I would never see my sister, especially a woman. I'm lucky we don't live in a state where you feel that threatened that much, I have to admit. But when a car pulls up, I even hitchhike. And again, I'm no body down, I'm a snot, which is weird because people used to call me a snot. And I thought, oh, really? I wasn't like in a cheerleader thing, but I thought, like you said, I had that extra sensory to me where I really kind of know when people are bullshitting me. And if you've seen some of the bullshit they've done to me in the hospitals, now again, because we are good targets for that, me and you, they were watching.
You're autistic.
Now get this, on Nancy Schieffer's page, there was a guy that was listed there, and he had dark hair and a mustache, and I remember seeing his face when I would go to her images on YouTube, Google, then you image Nancy Schieffer. I'm going to send you something. You Google it. Go look. You scroll down on there, right? You go to Nancy Schieffer's page. You scroll down there, and this lady looks just like her if the picture was taken within the last 5 years, not from 10 or 11 years ago. It's Senator Nancy Schieffer. I swear to God, it's her. I don't know how long that photo is, but the photo of her right before she died with her family, as I was trying to, maybe you didn't catch my message. I was trying to tell you, there's a photo of her with her family. That, I swear, was taken on Mother's Day of May of 2009. Now, get this.
I got a question to ask you. I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
there was
ahead.
another senator or governor or something like that was also doing many of the same things that Nancy Schieffer was, and her husband was murdered. Do you know that lady's name?
Okay, that lady and her husband was murdered. Was this down in the Alabama area? I'm
not for certain. I remember that it was on
another,
about.
What do you call the other ones? Not senators, the other ones.
Governors?
Lobby, yes. Trying to get a bill passed. I'll send you something, and you listen to the last 50 minutes. It's comedian Tim Dillon. He has his own podcast. He has a video, and at the end, they joke around. They mention Nancy Schieffer, and I couldn't believe it because I'm like, oh my God. And I text him, and he sent me a thing like a thumbs up because I put, oh, Nancy Schieffer would save him, and it was just a silly comment about puppies being saved, and I just put that, and he put his thumbs up, and it came from him direct, which is, like exciting because, they're a little bit, like in the celebrity scene, like you're getting a little somewhere, but not really. But anyways, I'm trying to think because what they're mentioning sounds similar to what you're saying to me. That's why I mentioned him, to bring it to your attention that I will send that because I might afterwards when I get thinking about it because there's several of them. Did you ever hear about that senator or another lawman from the government that had his boat? He was in Maryland. God, what was his name? Kobe. And his son says he wasn't murdered, but he was. Wait a minute, Kobe from Maryland murdered. And Brian Kobe, they said he was trying to sell the pharmaceuticals, and that's why he died, because he was trying to sell the pharmaceuticals. Somebody mentioned that on Joey Diaz podcast about that. It was just one of those conspiracies, but saying that's weird. He wanted to try to, sue them, I guess. So he was getting into it. Next thing you know, Kobe Bryant dies. I mean, it's just weird, these things.
Well, there's
I'm trying to look for the other senator I'm not senator, but who you were mentioning.
when it comes to conspiracy theories, that's what this falls under. Like I said, it's not my department. That doesn't mean that it's not true or it's not happening or anything like that. That's not discrediting you or any of your work, but a lot of the stuff that people hear about is, they hear the conspiracy theory stuff and their ears automatically turn off. They hear about stuff like that. One of the examples, like with Nancy Schaefer. Now, there's two ways that you could go about the situation with Nancy Schaefer. You can get obsessed with what happened to her and get absolutely stuck in that and just keep on pushing it, which a lot of people have actually done, not necessarily with her, but with, a lot of celebrities. But the other way that you can go about it is to continue her work. And that right there is, number one, a lot more worthwhile.
I had a real spooky call. They told me to take my stuff down because it wasn't making sense. They told me to do more studying. But this is what got to me. When the person called me and they were calling, I was crying because I just got through crying hysterically. I could do it again, but I didn't really want to. It kind of burnt me right out. My face is still hot. But nevertheless, she was like, I know what happened to you. And when because I was going on, and next thing you know, she just went, I know what happened to you. I was like, and it just felt like everything, and even now more so, when she said that, I felt the way she said it, I wish it still calmed me down, that thought. Sometimes it still can in a weird way after I've had a bad day, and I go back to that thought, because the person said, with a female voice, kind of southern, and my guy was right there, the father of my children, his name is Milton, just like he's from Ecuador, South America, but nevertheless, he originated from there, and was in New York and came to Maine because he met me through my cousin. So it was weird how we met. And I thought it was so great. Next thing I know, we have a relationship. I got a little better with my illness. I got to have my family. And then I kind of had a bad spell and reached out for help. Next thing I know, I reached out to a nightmare. And I swear that's the beginning of a book, which I will put in a book because of all the odd EPs of things that happened, both good and a little, bit on the real bad side. But, and there's other things that don't quite relate to my kids and, Child Protective Services, but because it kind of goes into my story, to me, it makes some interesting reading, especially because, I want to be able to come out of it seeing my girls. I feel like I still have something to live for. And trust me, at times I think, why? But if I do this, I'm going to show my girls they were right. And I'm too proud to allow them to be right. If I'm dead, they're going to win. If I die in my own nature and still feel a little miserable, that's out of my own nature. But if I die and they win, I just can't. Otherwise, I might as well take everybody with me. But I wouldn't think such a crazy thought.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. It's actually rude and inconsiderate. In the Gabby Petito situation, you were talking about if you died. In the Gabby Petito situation, we don't know who killed Gabby, but everybody stopped giving a shit as soon as they found out that Brian Laundrie was dead.
Exactly.
If I'd have killed myself, they would have never caught Joseph Michael Lopez. They would have just assumed that I killed Natalie. And then they would have celebrated by ordering a pizza from Domino's and probably tipping the guy who murdered Natalie $20. Except they're cops. They don't generally tip. A lot of waitresses tell me that. They say, I hate serving cops because they don't tip.
And they're serious. And you know what? You're not the first to say that, but you did just remind me. See, now I'm going to send you a picture of Nancy Schaefer's family. Now, that's her whole family. Now, not a lot of people dare. I don't know if you could put it online because I don't want to offend. You can't really see their faces.
I'm going to try.
But that's Nancy Schaefer. That's her family. Look at her holding her husband's knee. If you get a better shot of this, you'll see her Holding
Pasting
her
it right
husband's
now,
knee.
actually. I'm pasting it in the
And if you blow it up,
live
you look at
chat.
her left hand, she's got her
Oh, it's
hand
too long.
right on her knee, near his lap. Like, honey, let's get this picture taken. Almost to show them a big F you. Like, you know what? I'm not going to take this bullshit. You know, like, these people are not going to drag me down just because.
It's too long to post the link, but I did try. It only allows you 200 characters, and the link is over 600 characters.
Well, maybe maybe I blew it up with all these things in it because I'm trying to get this. Yeah, because I'm trying to.
All right, I do want to stop you just for a moment. There's a couple of observances that I've made, and I may be wrong about this, but I do want to say them. When you first started talking to me, you were in a heightened state because of what's been going on. Obviously, stuff that didn't happen on my channel. It was stuff that was happening at your place, and you were in a heightened state of awareness, and you were talking extremely fast. You're starting to slow down, you're starting to calm down, but you're also very much speaking quickly because you still have the whole you have too much to say and not enough time to say it. So what I want to do is I want to invite you to come back and speak on my channel a few times. People will start to see how the more you get comfortable with it, the more you realize that you do get
and
to
it will
speak.
get more clarification to the whole story, which is definitely what I've been trying to work on. This is a good start for me to put it. We'll get to that progress as I'm being, better at trying to. Getting on here, you're all new, so it's all going to rise up.
I'm going to use a $500 word, articulate. Articulate is the word.
And focus on the things. And like I said, if I had like one of those things where you could just throw up with your hands all the images, and I would, put a little string to show you with some connections I made. And
but you don't know how to do that. Well, neither do I, so we're in the same boat.
Kind of like they do on SUV on Law and Order, how they have those, they just throw it up in those movies, like, okay, this goes to this, and you're going along with them because they're going with, but then again, it's all written script. It's all scripted out.
It's all too confusing until they can see them side by side. As soon as they can see it side by side, it'll make perfect sense.
Yeah,
but when you show them one piece and then a little bit later you show them the other piece and you say, remember the first piece I sent you? Go look at it. They're not going to go look at it. When they did look at it, they probably just skimmed it so that it doesn't make any sense to them. Like with my paperwork, as soon as someone looks at it, they get it. As soon as they look at it, they get it. With my autism advocate, she didn't get what I was trying to explain to her. She didn't understand what I'm going through. As soon as she saw the evidence, her words were, oh my God. That's literally what she said to me. Oh my God.
And that oh my God moments. And they call it, I felt, and I know, I look back and I thought, what a fool. If I knew about Nancy Schreiber, I don't even know if I would have lost my case. But again, my lawyer you know what he told me? Stay off the computers. Now I know why. He's like, don't get on the computers. You'll weakness, because I wanted to see how CPS was. I think I went on once in the fall of 2013. My guy had just gotten me a kendo, and because I was looking for housing, I never got on to CPS. I was too busy looking for a new place for us to move to, so I never did. Me not doing that, I didn't. As soon as I looked up CPS, Nancy Schreifer's page just floated right down through. Like, at first I thought she was against people like myself that's just having some trouble in life. And at first I thought, oh, she looks kind of bitchy. But then she has a Grammy face to her. Then I'm like, Then I realized I started listening to her. And then the weird thing is, several months later, I'm walking down. There's all kinds of people. In fact, I got a couple of those masks, with the anonymous mask. Those like Chinese kind of, yin and yang. Well, not yin and yang, but those faces that you see in sometimes.
V for Vendetta. It comes from a movie called V for Vendetta.
Oh,
remember the 5th of November.
Okay, because I was thinking at first put something that Bruce Willis was in or something. But anyways, all of them from Anonymous, there was like 50 of them walking up. I had just gone tanning. I walked up. The next thing I know, they were all shouting and looking at me. And all of a sudden, they're kind of going around me. And I thought, this is weird. This is like literally 5 years ago, right before Christmas in 2016. All of a sudden I go, and don't forget about Nancy Schaefer. And all of a sudden I see them, filming me and going, yes, yes. And I thought, oh my God, they knew what I was saying, because I didn't think they did. But because I had gone on anonymous, they tell stories about the weirdness of her death. So I just
They
thought
wear
that was
those
kind of
masks to protect their identities so that they're not targeted. The problem is that those masks show their fear, and it also prevents them from having any effective change. I'm
well,
not sure if you now, obviously, comic books are not reality, but there's
no,
a guy named Mr. Jameson in the Spider-Man comic books, and
yeah,
Mr. Jameson he hates Spider-Man because Spider-Man wears a mask, and Mr. Jameson's reason for it is that
mm-hmm.
heroes don't hide their faces.
Oh, well, you show your face and you might get slaughtered, like if not physically, mentally, like someone like myself.
Or
I'm not trying to
myself.
say. I think that's why you know what? If I ever got rich, my thing would be called create a smile. Because the first thing to knock a person down is to knock their smile out. And if they're still smiling, they'll still try to get their teeth. I have found like a little conspiracy on that. Maybe it's not a true conspiracy, but you think how. There's horrible movies. One day I was joking and said, oh, a movie about something. And I couldn't believe it. There was a movie about it. And literally, what it is, it's about a school that if you don't pass their school, they kill you because they're their form of elimination. I couldn't believe they made a movie out of that. Literally
They
killing
actually did
children.
that.
How could
Right
they
now,
do
Canada and
that
the
with all
United
the
States
so-called
both have
rights of
something very big
children?
going on about that, because there are over 3,000 Native American children who died at the Christian schools. A lot of people, they don't bring up the fact that all of these schools were Christian schools. All of them were run by churches, every single one of them. These children were killed by clergy, murdered by
Oh,
clergy.
when I read into that, that makes my heart break, especially when I look at and hear about children. I just think of my daughter, that little, because she looks like a little cherub. I'll send you a picture. Both of them. Again, one of my oldest, well, not my oldest is actually 27. And then I have almost a 10-year-old, and then my 10 and 17-year-old is, now get this, now you wonder why I'm all crazy and why my kids think I'm crazy. I got to live with a fear. There was a guy who's single. Get this, me and their father, we might be going through stuff, especially the last few years because of this. And then I finally got us another home. But guess what? It came out of the blue. And the weird thing is, it's a home that I always walked by and said, I wouldn't mind if I lived there. And I got it. And I used to say that like a decade ago when I walked by when I was pregnant with my other daughter. But at the time I already had a home. Plus these homes you have to wait in line to get to. Next thing you know, I got it. After they told me it would take a few years before I got into a place. Then I thought that might be a sign. This guy almost wanted to give up my girls because they're with a guy who's not even married. He's not even married. He had no relationships to the girls, but my sister wouldn't keep him. My other sister goes, you don't know the struggle.
I'm not married, and I've helped raise a lot of people's kids.
I know, but I know, and that's, call me prejudiced, but at least I'm being honest.
That's
That
part of the reason that
failing.
I believe that it should be illegal for men to be in childcare. It's not that these men are going to do anything.
Yeah,
It's that
you
these
get what
men
I'm saying?
can be victimized
Especially I
over
was
people's
molested.
opinions.
I don't want that to happen.
Right, but
Look what
the
it
other
did
thing
to
is,
me.
look at how many women right now, women teachers that we have. I mean, we had 31 female teachers on the news last year for having sex with their students. 31.
Exactly. 31, and I know that shit goes down.
The reason that I say that a man should not be in child,
they cut your head off.
the reason I say that a man should not be in child care, it's not because of him molesting children. It's because if people don't get what they want, then if they accuse him of that, he will never have an honest day in court. He will never have an honest chance at life ever again.
I would, you know what I could have said? I could tell the guy, you know what? I'll say you're a child molester just to get my daughters back. The thing is, that would be lying. I wouldn't do such a thing. But somebody tells me crazy shit to do, and I'm thinking, no, I'm trying to go about this in a quote more legal, professional manner. If there's such a thing,
they won't let
somebody
you.
takes your daughters, he's single, they blind him up with a lady. Next thing you know, that lady, gets away from the situation. It's almost like she knew what they were doing, like they were being paid to take in my daughters. And
They were.
and because
They absolutely were. Depending on
you
state,
see
it
the
could be up
setup,
to
and the
180,000.
lawyer I have literally is just up the street from me. I can watch it. You know what book I want to send you, if you don't mind me? There's a book called in the state of custody, or custody of the state. I got like 50 copies of it because I bought them. They were like $2 at thrift stores and thrift bookstores. Literally, that's what they're called.
All right.
If you buy a lot.
You can send it to Shawn
it's a good
Schwartz,
book.
General Mail, Chapel, Nebraska, 69129.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
But nevertheless, because I have a PO box. Because I started to make videos. They told me to rip them down. I had to teach them up because I didn't know how to rip them down. So I'd use somebody else's phone, and I thought your phone had to make it all mixed up. So I kept.
I had the same issues. I get it. I had the exact same issues.
But the weird thing is, somebody called me from South Carolina, trying to disguise their voice, but it sounded like a female with a southern accent. My guy was right there. I was crying to her, going, "You don't know what they did to me, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Yes, I do." And when she said that, I really felt like she knew, even though at the time I still was putting the pieces together, but it's because I now know some more secretness of how they go about stuff. And at the time, I'm like, she's really acting like she knows, like she knows. Like I'm basically talking to the lawyer who knows what stunts were being done to me. But they didn't say.
It's easy for them when a lawyer has been a lawyer for a while. They do know what the tricks are, and they also know that.
And who's calling me? Okay, I'd love to know who called me. Now get this. One day I was fooling around with my camera. I didn't have tape on it because they always say put tape on it because people can break through your phone and do stuff. Okay, get this. One day I was fooling around with a flag and I was dragging my hand across it. Now get this. I go on Nancy Schaefer's page on her images. Literally, I go to look up. There's my hand on a flag, but not quite the flag I was dragging because the squares were a lot littler. And I don't think they could have logged it because I think that would stretch. But nevertheless, I didn't take the picture, but somehow my hand got on her images page on Google. When you go to Google, it says, videos, images, all of, those 4 or 5 little categories, and you drop down images and it starts showing all of her pictures of Nancy right there. And it says, "We are taking it back." And it shows, "We the people, we are taking it back." And that is my hand. I could tell by the tan line. I could tell by my rear thumb. I have what they call is a hammer or a club thumb, that it looks like a toe because it's, wider. I could tell by the indentations. I'm like, how the hell would that have gotten on her page? I couldn't do that. I don't know how to do that. I'm not skilled right now to know how to do that. I'll tell you the truth. I wouldn't even have time trying to raise my other kids. I wouldn't have had time. I mean, this is just really weird. It's a flag that says, "We are taking it back, we the people," and I swear that is my hand. I have since keep copies because every now and then I go to that image page and it's not on there. Other times I have to search for it. Other times I just can't find it, but I do at least got snapshots of it.
I want to ask you a question. We're going off on your thumb right now, and a lot of people, it's just going to sound crazy to them. So I'm only letting you know that because
I know. But if you saw these pictures and everyone say that it's not your hand, I'm just saying, okay, if it's not my hand, boy, does it look like it. If you see it, it has a rear thumb. The only reason I say it's mine because of that rear thumb and because of the tan line. And I'm thinking that, otherwise, you're right, I would sound crazy. And if I'm wrong, I'm so embarrassed. Trust me, I'm an educated woman enough to know that does sound crazy. But at the same time, if you saw that, so sometimes you don't know if someone's doing it purposely to trip you up. But I don't like
one
to say,
thing I want to ask, and I know I'm interrupting you and all that, and I've done it several times through this.
No, I'm not offended at all.
When it comes when it comes to the Nancy Pelosi thing, you're talking about her a lot, which obviously that's or not. Yeah, Nancy Schaefer. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, with a lot of that, the situation with that, like, are you trying to get people to look into whether or not she was murdered, or are you trying to continue her work?
I think it's a little both. I don't ever want to see another girl have to go what I go through and make
I
it
don't want
look like she's
I don't want anybody to go through
Stacy.
what you go through, whether they're
Yeah,
a girl or not.
oh yeah. I mean, another mom, another a husband and wife, father, mother, sister, anyone who's trying to take care of children, and maybe doing just fine. When to reach out for that so-called help they tell you to reach out for, if you're having troubles and you reach out for that so-called extra hand help. And it's not even financially. It's just tell me where some of these schools are if I'm not seeing them for myself. But again, I had the computer in my life for a while, for a few years. So just redirect me, just even if it doesn't take much on their behalf. What they did was they came in and just saw me at my lowest point and decided to plow through me instead of trying to educate me more. They could have assisted me on other ways to deal with what I was going through. And again, it wasn't even just a depression. It was just like I've been a mom for a while. I had just had, I wasn't on any heavy drugs. So, you can't excuse that. I just wanted to find another way to,
I'm worried about the dog
make
right
myself
now.
better.
I'm trying to listen to you. The door that I have on this house, because it's cold, it's snowing outside, and there's
Oh,
heat shrinkage, or not heat shrinkage, but it's shrinking because of the cold. So the door doesn't close all the way, and the dog got out, and it's cold outside. And
oh,
he
okay,
usually comes
okay.
back after a while, and
No,
he starts scratching on the door, but he's not out there. He hasn't come back yet, and I'm pretty well worried about him.
no, you
I
go
know
ahead
that
and do
it's
what you
late
need
where
to
you
do.
are
And
because
if
you're in
you want,
Maine.
you can go back on that Facebook and send me your address, and I'd like to send you a copy of a book that's about similar to what I'm going through. Like they were trying to drive the mother a little crazy before trying to get her son,
Gaslighting. That's what it's
and
called.
gaslighted. All right, that's exact word. But I wrote it down in my book. I have journals I kept. I got I've been journaling
Yes,
since
once you start getting
1992.
into this, there's specific terminology. It's kind of like regional dialect. Some
And
people say soda, some
I'd
people
also
say pop, and in the center of the country, we say soda pop.
but like I said, now if you were right next to me, I would say, now here's this and about 10 other things, and I include you into this, and then you can make your mind up. Because after I say the few things I've said to you, that's pretty much it. There's a few weird incidents, like on a real windy day, I lost another weird thing. A real windy day, I'll let you go later. A windy day, I lost my scarf. I said, $1,000, I'm going to go outside tomorrow and it will be there. Sure enough, even though it was real windy, that scarf, I looked around, I couldn't find it. All of a sudden, sure enough, it was right near a tree the next day. So I would literally find it. I was tight, and I thought, now that was creepy. I had looked for it because I loved it. It was one of my favorite color scarves. And weird thing is, I knew I lost it, but I knew it was going to be up here. So, I mean, it's creepy. It's creepy.
All right, I have to stop you for just a moment. I got to go
And
open
you
the
go
door. The
find your
dog might
puppy.
be here.
You
Can
go
I?
do that.
Is it all right if I end the call and then
No,
I could
you
call you
end it,
back in about 10
and
minutes?
you can direct me what else you could do and set up, a way for me to send you stuff, and I'll be fine with that. And like I said, a few of these clarifications could be done later. That would make
Well,
me feel better.
I'm gonna get right back on because this is a very good subject.
Okay.
So if you could give me about 10 minutes,
Okay,
then I'll
will
start a
do.
video up again. And I now have your number. It said Maine. So like I said, I'll forgive you for that.
Not too far from the nice view everybody sees of that lighthouse. I'm not too far from that. So it's famous for that lighthouse, and I'm not that far
Yep.
from it. So
The white one.
Yeah, the famous lighthouse. It's in Cape Elizabeth, Maine. Yeah. Yeah, we're known for some stuff, especially the lobsters, blueberries. So it's a beautiful state. Unfortunately, they do some real crummy things to families. So my guy hates it here. But
Well,
the
you can
sad thing
thank
is,
the War of 1812 for the property you're sleeping on.
yeah, and he reminds me of that because there's Spanish things written in over in the park where we are, and yeah, mention the Spanish laws and stuff like that. Now, you had educated me more, and he does too. But sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's easier to listen to someone else trying to tell you stuff.
It can get
someone you
tedious.
love, so.
If it's not
But,
something you're
okay.
interested in, it's not that interesting. Like there's a guy
No,
named
but you know
Josh
what it does,
Niffel
though?
who
It
talks
makes me
about
know
Navy.
where I stand as an individual, and when my family came to be here, what made me, because my family was known for being pretty smart. They own good property that now is millions of dollars. How did their granddaughter
Can we
get so
continue this
stupid?
in about 10 minutes?
Yeah, you got
All
it.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
That lady's pretty badass, I got to admit. I like her. Probably in a week or two, a lot of the stuff that is tough for you guys to understand, she's going to be able to speak concisely because she's going to become more comfortable with it. The first time I had to talk to my therapist about this stuff, same thing as this lady, a mile a minute. My mouth was just a running. Now, that was in the jail. I was in Scottsbluff jail when that happened. When I saw her the second time there, things were a lot more calm. By the time I saw her in her office in Sydney, I was pretty well calmed down. I was able to explain things clearly and concisely. I understood that I really did have more time now. There's a dog that's out there and he's probably cold. I'll be back.